there was another event going on this morning, and I want to thank the hall for turning that over quickly for us, and we do appreciate it. We do appreciate your patience as well, so thank you for that. Welcome everybody. Welcome to all of our guests here today. Nice crowd. Cold outside, but nice and warm in here. So on behalf of the Pro Football Hall of Fame and the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club Board of Directors, I call to order the 26th meeting of the 61st year of the Pro Football Hall of Fame Luncheon Club. Invocation today, followed by our Pledge of Allegiance, will be given by Deacon Mark Fuller from St. Michael's Catholic Church.
Blessed are you, Lord God of all creation, whose goodness fills our hearts with joy. Blessed are you who have brought us together this day to work in harmony for peace. We thank you for the food we have enjoyed that nourishes our bodies and the fellowship that brings us joy. Strengthen us with your grace and wisdom to bring our work to completion. May hope accompany our journey through the days to come. May God's abiding presence be with you all the days of your life. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May he look upon you with kindness and give you peace. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Deacon. I heard some Go Browns out there. Well, it's my pleasure right now to introduce the folks at the head table. We've got a full head table today, and I want to make sure that we recognize these folks. First of all, on the far end, my far right, your far left, he is with Bernie's Wellness Company, Steve Cross. From WEWS Channel 5, John Kosar. Introducing our speaker today, you know him very well, Mike Galena. The partner with Buckingham Doolittle is Derek Haynes. Also the CEO of Altman Health Foundation, Rick Haynes. And the guy you're going to meet here in just a few minutes, our speaker from Boardman, Ohio, Bernie Kosar. I want to recognize our sponsors this year. I want to thank Liberty Ford, the Aultcare Primetime Health Plan, Wilkshire Golf Course, the Marion Motley Memorial Fund Scholarship, and Dr. Peter Ferguson Chiropractic. All right, I've got a few announcements. Mentioned a couple of these last week, but I want to repeat them because I think they're important things that we as a club put ourselves behind. The Vince Costello scholarship, or the memorial down in Magnolia, Tuesday, April 16th at 5:30 at Chibo's Restaurant. There's going to be a dinner. Claudia is here from that group, but next week we'll be selling the tickets for that. They're $20. It's going to be at Chibo's on the 16th, so make sure if you want to go to that, you'll see Claudia next week over at Tozzi's, and I think she passed out some flyers as well. It probably ran out, but there's going to be more next week. Also, mentioned this last week, but you recall Greg Campy, who was one of our speakers from Oakland University. Congratulations to them. They had a big win the other night over Milwaukee. They are the Horizon League champs, and they have punched their tickets into the NCAA tournament. So we gave Coach Campy some good luck. The Newsboys Banquet is set for April 10th at Tozzi's. It's another organization that we supported this year. Cash bar 6 o'clock, plated dinner at 7. Tickets are $30, and I do have a phone number for Dave Posty. If you know Dave, just reach out to Dave and get tickets for that event as well. While you're here today or in the near future, make sure you get a chance to check out the new Browns exhibit. It's upstairs. It'll be here for a limited time. So just like the Steelers one that was here before, this one is upstairs and it'll be here. So make sure you get a chance to check it out. You do have free membership to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And then finally, the Stark County Royal Knights Special Olympics basketball team recently won the state championship, and we plan to honor the team at a future meeting. But today, we have one of their players with us, Nate Manko. Nate, stand up. Nate is a member of that team, so congratulations, Nate, on winning the state championship. All right, we have $246 in the 50-50. I'll ask Bernie to pull the ticket.
No pressure here, huh? I'll make one friend. Can I pull my own? This is the Powerball winner.
Tim Richard has the money. 656-337. 337. Coach Miller. We can confirm. Congratulations, Coach. All right, next week, our speaker will be B.J. Duckworth from the OHSAA. He's the Director of Development with the OHSAA. They've been busy last couple of weeks with basketball, and they'll be going into the tournaments this week with boys and girls. So B.J. Duckworth next week. All right, now it's time to introduce our speaker. And the gentleman that will do that today is the guy you all know very well. Mike Galena is the Vice President of Organizational Development and Community Engagement for both Altman and Aultcare. Mike is also a special advisor here to the Hall of Fame Luncheon Club Board. Mike Galena.
Thank you, Frank. And hey, as Frank is heading back to his seat, he managed a lot of things today because it is brand new, unusual. We had a compression of schedules. He did a beautiful job. So Frank, thank you. Let's give him a round of applause. You know, as a chance to introduce, I always like to lean into a story that builds up to the connection to our speaker. But when you have Bernie, you don't really need a connection. All of us connect for him at different times through our life's journey as he was playing. But this story will be a good one to let you know how he continues to play, how he continues to keep pitching in his life journey right now. So here's the story, then I'll do the intro. The story has to do with this little 8-year-old guy named Spencer. And he asked his mom if he could go out in the backyard and hit the baseball around for about 15 or 20 minutes before supper. So just picture this. He's got a bat and a ball in his backyard. Mom does the typical mom thing, stay in the yard. So she's watching out the back window. And Spence throws up his very first one. Takes a big healthy cut, boom, misses it a foot. Horribly. Mom's looking out the window, shaking her head. I don't know about this. Here comes the second one. Throws it up. She hears him counting out loud. 1, 2, 3, swing. Missed it again by a foot. She's thinking, my boy is not very good. Watches him the third time. He throws it up, tries a whole new batting stance. He spins back, swings and misses again a foot. Guess what, group? He is 0 for the time period. He never hits the ball a full 10 minutes. So Mom calls him in. Here comes supper, sits right down. He's having a sip of water. Mom says, Spence, how'd it go out there? How'd you do, buddy? Remember, she saw it all. He looked right at his mom and said, Mom, I think I'm going to be a pretty good pitcher. Opportunities in life. But most importantly, how he found a way to be opportunistic with his skills. And as I introduce Bernie, you're going to find out along life's journey that he has great opportunity with his skills. But most importantly, his second journey in life, he's had to use some really special skills. So he'll take you through his journey, and I'll introduce that part of it, but you're going to enjoy him talking about ball, but also about the things that have connected to his life since ball. So let's take you on the journey. I know you're going to connect with it along the way, but 1981, Boardman graduate, Boardman Spartan, Division I Player of the Year, Parade All-American, National Honor Society. Coolest thing about this, he's a pretty good pitcher. Lo and behold, the story fits, Bernie. Could have done that. But you know, he heads off to Miami University, the U. He took his talents to South Beach, just like another guy did, but he did his way early. And a lot of folks wanted him, but he found a way to say, nope, I can go make here in Miami, at the U with Howard Schnellenberger, a special place for myself. So, 1983, he is a starter for Miami. He wins the national championship. Get this, they beat Nebraska. 22 straight wins Nebraska had in that game. Bernie comes in player of the year. Right away, boom, he shoots to trajectory. The next year, top Final Four of the Heisman Trophy. 4th place in the finalists work for that. Well, here's the best thing. He graduates from Miami in 2 years. Takes all of his work, he's a finance, an accounting major, business major, in 2 years. And here's the thing that's so cool about Bernie, he was always thinking ahead. He knew that the NFL had a draft, and they also had a supplemental draft. And if he could be ready correctly with his paperwork, with then Commissioner Rozelle, he could manage this so that he would be trying to get to Cleveland. Now think about this, how many want to get to Cleveland? For years we wanted people like Bernie. He was, in the best way, he managed the system. So you got the Vikings, the Oilers, and the Bills all vying for him, and he wants to get to the Browns. And it worked, as we know. A supplemental draft, and Bernie was the first choice. And our Cleveland Browns benefited. As you know, from 85 to 93, he was our quarterback. And all of you right away now connect to games. Things like the drive, or the fumble, or just Bernie, Bernie. You can sing that Super Bowl song. It was all going on. He was just that special. And here's a couple things about that. In that game that was the fumble, Bernie called all his own plays in the second half. No beeping helmets, no quarterback coaches. He took care of it. He was a savant. He was ahead of his coaches with all of his offensive mind. And he would have things dissected by Thursday of the week he was ready to go. Certainly, you know his records as a quarterback with Cleveland. Set against the Jets, most yards passing, until Tom Brady broke that. Most passes thrown without an interception, until Tom Brady broke that. I think it was Super Bowl 52. Amazing journey. Goes to the Cowboys, and I'll bring it home for you after this. Cowboys, you recall, that was when Coach Belichick let him go and the Cowboys picked him up. He had to replace Troy Aikman in the 3rd quarter of the NFC Championship game. Aikman's out with a concussion. Bernie comes in and leads that team for a quarter and a half and finishes as a win. It looked like they never had a blip on the screen with the offense. He just knew that so well, and he could compete so well. So much so that when they won the Super Bowl, the final play of the game, they took a timeout and had Bernie come onto the field and take a knee with the ball. That's how much he meant to the Dallas Cowboys run. And that's what he did in his journey of always being helpful to his team. Finally, ended up with the Miami Dolphins this last 2 years. And I'll wrap it up by saying even there he was putting a cerebral nature or a spin on the game. If you remember Dan Marino and the fake spike. You go, so you take yourself back there. Bernie had talked with him about a way to look like you're going to spike the ball to kill the clock to kick the field goal. He said, you don't need to do it. Just start yelling, make your hands do it, but don't do it. And by golly, they complete a touchdown to Mark Ingram. They faked out the group. They were all standing around. And Bernie's play to Dan Marino caused that victory. So his journey ended up 12 years in the NFL. And I took you through that a little bit at a time. Certainly, our Cleveland Browns is just very special. But he's in an academic Hall of Fame, a high school Hall of Fame, certainly Miami U, Ring of Honor. Just goes on and on and on. But here's the coolest thing, I think, for all of us as I turn it over to him. In 2019, there was a poll done in Cleveland, and they asked the fan base, who was your most beloved Cleveland Brown? Bernie Kosar was the most beloved Cleveland Brown. So with that, we're going to show a little love back. Let's welcome W. Love.
Thank you. God, what a great group here today. I'm honored and humbled. I want to talk ball. We'll ask questions and stuff. Feel free to ask whatever you want to talk about later. But I'd be remiss if I didn't start by with Misty McMichael coming up here and reflecting back on kind of my career and Somebody actually just came up to me and showed me a picture of when I played in the Hall of Fame game here in Canton back in my career in the early 90s. We actually played the Bears. So to play against Steve McMichael in the Hall of Fame game, to know Misty, and I was in the Pro Bowl in 1987, and I want to sit here today or stand here today and talk and act cool and enunciate and keep my emotions in check, but I'm emotionally really challenged right now to see Misty talk and to see Steve. Because in 1987 at the Pro Bowl, I was sitting down as a 21, 22-year-old, probably the youngest guy at the Pro Bowl, one of the only single guys there, and I'm sitting at a table post-practice, having some cocktails, okay, with the guys, and it's Steve McMichael, Misty, and Mike Webster. And there's a Browns guy, and I'm not proud to say, but I'm seeing the Pittsburgh Penguins literature right there. But that wasn't exactly the most festive of environments back then, and it was a really Browns Steelers, as the rivalry is so beautiful, but there really was dislike and distaste during that era when we competed against each other. And here I am taking snaps from Mike Webster and sitting with Steve McMichael and sitting with Misty there. And to me, as a high school and college kid, watching those guys, now all of a sudden I'm in the Pro Bowl with them, and I'm sitting there, and you know, to see Steve McMichael, who's looked like Adonis, okay, and to see like a guy that's big and powerful, and I had played against them, the 85 Bears. The 85 Bears won the Super Bowl and stuff. I played against them the first game at Soldier Field, 1986. So to be able to count the lights at Soldier Field, because Steve McMichael, Richard Dent, and Mike Singletary are running my ass over, was something that was really fresh in my mind as I'm trying to Eddie Haskell suck up to him, so in case I played against him in my future, he wasn't going to crush me like he did in my past. And as a quarterback, again, as a Browns fan, I know it's sacrilegious during Easter month here, with Easter coming up, to say that you look up to guys who are the Steelers, but you can't help but look up to a Mike Webster. And I was always amazed at if you really knew Mike and you really saw him, like he was small, okay? And to take snaps from him, and I'm not athletic, and then to Mike Galena's awesome introduction of me, but I was a 5'5" running 40 guy, could barely lift a $185. We all know how, if you're a Browns fan, how slow I was. So it's really about maximizing what you're good at and minimizing the things you're not good at. Coach Snellenberger taught me that at the University of Miami, of playing to your strengths and stuff. So to try to play to my mental strengths, knowing that my physical limitations were there, was something that really was kind of fixated in me. And then to see Mike Webster, who couldn't have been more than 250 pounds, and barely, I had to almost get on my knees to get the snap from him. So that took me 2 seconds just to get away from the poor dude to snap. But there's a lot of history that goes into it. Those two are older than me, so I had to adjust my game to the older guys like that. And I mentioned both of them right now. Again, we could talk ball and stuff, but Steve now going through the ALS, and unfortunately, whether we could all fire acronyms out there, but the CTE or the TBI, which, you know, I'm affected by. And if I would have been asked to do this, and I have been asked to do these luncheons and these speeches quite a bit over the last 20 years. Well, over the last 20 years, there's been times 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 years ago where I wouldn't have been able to, I wasn't able to come here and be here at noon promptly, be here for an early event like this at 8:15 this morning, and be cognitively present, to be able to 5 years ago, or actually now 7.5 years ago, was told that I have 5 years left of cognitive brain function, to where 7 and 8 years ago I couldn't enunciate, articulate, communicate really any multiple syllable words. So to do, and I'm not just saying this because Rick Haynes here with Altman Foundation and Aultcare are here, but the Primetime Health and some of the health, holistic health things that I started implementing into my lifestyle that Rick is doing and has had the vision at Primetime Health, especially for us men, okay, who are stubborn and sometimes predisposed to be set in our ways, to see the doctor with some regularity, to really realize that food is our medicine. And there's some simple things that we could do to be cognitively present, to be able to handle some of the lifestyle changes that we get as we get older, is something that I'm super proud to have found, and friends like Rick and Mike Galena here with Aultcare and Altman to kind of have the vision to implement these programs within their companies and within their friends and family. That's really what I started doing 7.5 years ago, when I started having issues, or the reality of what I was having issues with, and so many of the celebrations of life that I've been going to over the last few years in particular, but really over the last decade, of friends of mine like Junior Seau, Dave Durson, who have been sick and have ended up taking their lives, or like Mike Webster, who ended up back, we know today in 2024 some of the issues that sometimes happen with us as we age, but really didn't know some of these answers back even as long as 5 and 10 years ago, let alone 10 and 20 years ago. So I love ball. I don't regret one bit. And I've had now almost 50 surgeries, 100 concussions, 80 or some broken bones. I've had 15 seizures. Last seizure, I was in a coma for 96 hours, and people say, God, you wish you didn't play. And I love that I played, okay? And I don't really want the ramifications of that. And I was saying earlier today, I really felt as a little boy growing up in Youngstown, Ohio, that my blessing, my gift from God during this Lenten season with Easter and Palm Sunday approaching, was to be the Browns quarterback. And then bluntly, as we age out, I could just cruise through the end of my life, okay, as sign a few autographs and be nice and talk about the old days. So that Mike did such a great job. I actually do a better job of talking about me than I do. So I gotta take you and me gotta go on the road, brother. Okay? For that, and I was proud of that, and I kind of settled into that. But sitting in that hospital bed 7 years ago in Chicago after having a seizure on a United flight at the O'Hare airport and being in a coma for 96 hours, and in that 97th hour, the doctor walked in and said, man, you're doing great, you're a tough guy, keep up with your prescriptions and your protocols. I'm like, bro, you got me on like 60 different pills, pain medication, Adderall, Vyvanse, medicated through the whole course of the day. That's not a way to live. I knew there had to be a better way. And I'm proud to say, in 7.5 years, have not done a pill, haven't drank, and that cognitive ability, the ability to, again, enunciate, articulate, communicate. The human body is really strong. It really does assimilate in. So learning some of the healthy, holistic things that I'm doing now, whether it's with Primetime Health and with Aultcare and stuff, and or my Kosar Wellness, I'm not saying this is a sales pitch, but it's really a lifestyle. And I needed it for myself to be able to be cognitively present, to be able to be around a Mr. Mom with 4 kids, okay, some of which have this issue, okay, and how do you teach? You're going to tell your kids to do stuff, but you can't do it yourself. So starting with myself and trying to figure out somehow, some way, which is the Jimmy Johnson line, somehow, some way, figure out how to make a play. Somehow, some way, I had to figure out how to save my life, how to get it back on track, because the ability for any of you to understand me without mumbling, bumbling, stumbling through my words was almost impossible. I don't say that to brag or say, hey, cool, look at me, or to sell you any Kosar coffee or Kosar wellness. It's about being able to tell you if you have some of these issues and or know people that have some of these issues. As men, we all sometimes want to pretend that we have all the answers, pretend that we're perfect, pretend that everything's going on good, that my way is the only way, and sometimes my way is the only way that we talk about because that's all we really know. And it's hard for sometimes us men to admit that we're human, that we don't know everything, that we could use advice, we can listen to our wife, we can maybe stay away from some of the unhealthy habits that we have, and a couple simple implementations of your food and smart supplementation has made a massive change in my lifestyle to where now we could be here today and almost feel it's a responsibility to be able to talk about this, again, to let people know that there are other options out there. And I'm embarrassed to say the guy who's trying to be mature and cool and deliver a message about this and played football and knew that these things were a possibility, yet even me, when I saw Mike Webster do the interview here at the Hall of Fame, where, I don't know if some of you are old enough to remember, where he was there sitting down and doing an interview back and forth, and he just said to the reporter, I just forgot what I was talking about. And people said, wow, you're on drugs, or you're dumb, or that's why. And really, now that it was happening to me, and that you see you're not on drugs, and you see that you can be forgetful, and you see that there's times if you don't do the right thing, that 72, 96, 120 hours, 3, 4, 5 days, you can end up going without sleep because of the pain or things that are going on in your head. And we didn't have outlets, or we didn't have vehicles to be able to, one, even have this nerve to talk about it, but secondarily, even if you talked about it, what do you do with it? How do you rectify that? There was, even as much as 5, 6 years ago, really not much out there that you wanted to talk about, let alone what you can do with it. So it's not easy for me to rather talk about the Browns and the X's and O's of the game. I really want to talk about the Browns, Steelers, the Justin Fields, Russell Wilson type stuff with the X's and O's, or how proud I am of the spike play where there isn't, coach, a high school, college, nor pro team that if you pick up their offense and defensive playbook doesn't have the spike play in it, or more importantly, how to defend the spike play so you're not dogged by that like I did to Pete Carroll, Boomer Esiason, and the Jets in that game that we were talking about. But being able now to have these type of options, and so guys like Mike Webster, guys like Junior Seau, there's an old teammate of mine, Chagrin High School graduate, Chagrin Falls, right up here, up the road here in Cleveland. Notre Dame grad, national championship winning Notre Dame grad, Bob Dahl. Was in the fight in the tunnel, the Catholics versus the convicts. Not all of us UM guys are convicts. And let me just say, as a Catholic, not all Notre Dame guys are Catholic either. Okay, and playing in that environment is sometimes one of the most unchristian environments in the world, because I did play there. And then he ended up blocking. Bob ended up blocking for me in '92 and '93. Super smart guy, millionaire, hedge fund manager, one of the athletes who went on to, had a super nice college and pro career, but then made more money playing, doing hedge fund and business. And during Suicide Prevention Month, September 25th, commits suicide. Those type stories, those celebrations of life that we go to, have become way too common, whether it's ex-players, whether it's the 100 people that have overdose death just this past week in the state of Ohio. I love my number 19. I love him, so proud of it. That's also the average of the amount of people, 19 people will commit suicide in the state of Ohio today. 22 veterans will commit suicide in the United States today. I could have, should have been either one of those two statistics now. So I don't say it to stand here to say, oh hell, look at me. Okay, I could throw out a few words, I could talk about it, here's my story. I say that to show the vulnerability and to say that there are options out there, that just some simple things like seeing a doctor once or twice a year, doing food as your medicine. Some of the lifestyle changes have absolutely slowed down the cognitive decline of myself and the health and wellness perspective of it, to be here today and to be present. So I was really, and not to be judgmental here, nor profile, but looking around at the demographics here as older people here today, I originally wanted to do this, okay, selfishly for us old men, okay? Okay, to get healthy and to still be consciously present, but then also physically for body parts to be working, okay? To be able to just not be around, but to be able to do things, exercise, be present, play with your kids, play with your grandkids. So I originally was starting it, for bluntly, it looks like us first few tables here, okay? And I still am, okay? But I also realize how influential we are within the community and how influential we are within our families. And I love my father. God, he just turned 86 this weekend, okay? And we're on camera, and I don't really want this stuff on camera, but a lot of the things we talked about as a kid, a lot of the things we talk about as adults, okay, they're just flat out wrong for your health. You know, like, I'll do like juicing and smoothies and heavy vegetables and stuff like that. Well, you'd actually get beaten by that, okay? You'd be yelled at, you'd be made fun of, you know. Back in the old days, it was a steak, and let's do shots, you know, let's drink shots of whiskey and stuff, and that's kind of how he was raised, and that's how in Youngstown you are raised, okay? And it's almost like you're not a man, you know, you're not a man. Men drink, okay? Men eat steak, men don't eat vegetables, you know, men don't admit their feelings. Men never apologize. When men, the head of the family, is never wrong. Like, come on, really? We're wrong sometimes. And we don't sometimes have the answers. So when we kind of learn a little bit and educate ourselves and our take, you know, I don't say because I went to the University of Miami, you matter. And one of the great things that really bonded me and Rick together from the beginning was, apart from us even knowing each other, that was the company line, you matter, okay? And right now we're all kind of like trying to show confidence and self-belief and self-confidence and self-esteem. But really at times, we don't have it. So if we don't have it all the time, how could that 14 and 15-year-old boy, who one of the most trying times growing up in high school, how is he going to have that self-confidence and that self-esteem? And when you teach people that you matter, that you genuinely care about you, and you start developing self-confidence and self-esteem in the people around you, it gives them such a better chance of success. So what we originally started with Primetime Health and Aultcare and Altman, for us men to just see a doctor once a year, now trying to implement maybe something into our diet and stuff. It's so imperative that we teach, coach some of the younger players, some of the younger parents. Because when I was in my mid-30s, I had no clue. I was doing the wrong stuff. I was taking all the pills. Thought it was cool. You're expected to go out as an athlete. I remember Junior Seau saying this to me. Buddy, I say bro a lot. Why I say bro a lot is because Junior Seau said buddy all the time. Buddy, hey buddy, hey buddy, hey buddy. I say hey bro, hey bro. This really came as a derivative out of my love and respect for him. And he played 20 some years. And he'd go and I was in this stage in my late 30s, mid 30s, early 40s. You're out of football, you're doing things like this. Lunch is different, but you're doing some of these at dinner. You're at the bars. People want us to be telling stories. They all think, it's cool to be doing shots, that you have these demons going off in your head, and those type things kind of amplify themselves within it. And when you tell people they matter, you tell them options, you don't have that peer pressure on them. It's something that's almost really freeing of it. So I kind of now almost feel, again, like I was saying earlier, I wanted to cruise out as that quarterback and just morph into the late third quarter, early fourth quarter of my life. But I almost feel it's a responsibility now to talk about this now and say that there are healthy options out there for the younger parents to learn. And sometimes if us men, older men, because we want to represent knowledge and wisdom, but sometimes we just don't know. And if we allow, and that trickles down to our 35-year-old kids that are raising our 8-year-old grandkids that don't exactly know. So what do they revert to in time of crisis? The crap we taught them. Okay, and if we're teaching them, that you got to have a 48-ounce steak chased with a beer and a Boilermaker behind it, as opposed to just drink good water or the right type of juices and stuff. And it's okay, you're not soft or any of that. It's actually so naturally helpful to your family and to your kids. So, I think we're severely over-medicated, okay? And we're starting with kids now at younger and younger ages. And some of those 60 pills that I was scripted for, and as much as 7.5 years ago, when I was a couple Pop-Tarts north of 320 pounds, and learning some of these health and wellness things, actually now to have lost back now around 200 pounds, where I came to Cleveland and played at, the amount of health benefits that has happened to me now, and how strong the human body is, that it's able to come back from stuff like that. I really kind of inferred that, why did I have to wait till I was 55, 54, 53 to figure this out? What if now, the 35-year-old dad or the 35-year-old coach, who's so influential in so many young kids' lives, are able to almost not only coach up on the field and stuff, but coach up in the health perspective of it, showing that these are the type of options that are out there. that really make a difference. And if you don't care about making a difference for yourself, it's making a difference in the people you really care about and love, so that they have a chance to have that happy, productive life, as opposed to that day-to-day grind, that life sentence of some of the medications and stuff, and some of the unhealthy habits that sometimes we're taught or passed down. So I know you didn't come here today to kind of hear my over health and wellness journey or my homily on health and wellness, but it really is what I'm passionate about, what I almost feel is my real responsibility in life now. And again, I'm looking at my 19 number, which I'm so damn proud of, but I see now 19 people that won't be with us tomorrow, and they're going to take their own life here. And that statistic is just so glaringly alarming, and it's taboo almost to talk about. So to be able to admit that there are ways to kind of help out is something I really believe is a mission of mine, as I actually now embrace some of my past and embrace even the games, like the drive and the fumble. You know, the cost and toll that it took on Ernest Biner, and the fumble. And he wrote an amazing book, Everybody Fumbles. Okay, and we all fumble. Okay, now sometimes it's not in front of 15 million people or 20 million people, whatever, are watching that game right now. But it has such lasting psychological effects. And I love March Madness. Man, we were just talking with Derek and Rick over here about the Kent State Akron game the other night. I love MAC basketball and MAC sports, but the poor kid from Kent State who had that foobar at the end, you know, those type of mistakes last with you. And when you talk about you matter, okay, you talk about we care about you, building up self-confidence, self-esteem. Pro athletes sometimes don't have the self-confidence and self-esteem. I feel for that young man at Kent State right now, for his self-confidence, his self-esteem, his future. And it's not as much the people dogging you for that mistake. Real competitors, real competitive people dog ourselves. We're our worst judge, our harshest critics. So to see that, you know, mistakes are made and that people are hurting, and figuring out ways to help them cope with that is really a mission that I'm really on right now. Again, I said I'll be able to take some questions and stuff. I could talk about the health and wellness basically all day with it, but I know we're kind of here for football and that. And as a guy who's now just hit 60, love the fact that football and what it's done for me, but also the X's and O's that I learned from Coach Schnellenberger. excuse me. To me, to have the coaching staffs I had Coach Schnellenberger, Howard Schnellenberger, Jimmy Johnson, Marty Schottenheimer, Jim Schaffner, Bill Belichick, Jimmy Johnson again at the Cowboys, then Don Shula, and then Jimmy Johnson again at the Dolphins. The only guy, so proud, the only guy to have played with Jimmy Johnson in all three of his spots, University of Miami, Cowboys, and the Dolphins. Okay, and our relationship wasn't very harmonious at the beginning, because I am aggressively opinionated, okay, on my X's and O's of football. So that is something that I am so open-minded in just about everything other than my X's and O's and how to run offensive football. So I can pick up the blitz, okay, and I can stretch defenses. So Jimmy coming from Oklahoma State and unfairly getting the job only a month before training camp started, wasn't as versed in the offensive side of it at first. And I give him a lot of credit for, one, how he learned it, but at first, and then how he just flat out trusted me to just do it. Okay, I was only 19 years old. And for him just to say, and again, somehow, some way, he goes, look at your big mouth. Okay, I love when a guy's got a big mouth like you, because now you drew the line in the sand. Okay, that means you either got to do it or I'm mad at you and you're wrong. So I actually love that he trusted me that much to be able to say and do those type things with the X's and O's of it. And for us old-time football guys, you hear that the game of football, God, it's changed so much. And the speed and athleticism and strength of the guys absolutely has changed, okay? They were Steve McMichael, okay, 320, sitting on top. I still see that dude sitting on top of my face in 1986, okay? Talking smack, okay? And me chuckling and stuff, okay? That type part of the game, people say, oh, that's you're old school with it. Well, yeah, I am maybe old school, but the protections and the stretches that you learn back on and Howard Snellenberger, who really put the offense together that Jimmy Johnson used later, but he was the offensive coordinator of the 72 undefeated Dolphins. So him and Coach Shula with Earl Morrill and Bob Greasy ran the same offense that I was versed in. So Howard Snellenberger and Earl Morrill was my quarterback coach my first year at the University of Miami. So those two and Mark Trestman, who ended up being head coach of the Bears and a 49ers coordinator and the Browns coordinator in '89 when we went to the third AFC Championship game with unfortunately the same results from Elway, but it's only taken me about 35 years to come to grips with that. But that type of offense that they taught me in college was a pro offense, pro stretches and pro reads, and it's still a core part of my fundamental way that I look at offense and I look at football. And I'm telling you, it still works today. And when 7 years ago, 8 years ago, okay, when I was physically and personally challenged with the issues I was talking to you about, I still would look at anybody and say, how the heck can you not have a tight end nor a fullback on your team, on your roster, on your field? And if you remember 7, 8, 10 years ago, okay, everything's spread out, everything's throw and shotgun. And those teams, for a couple of years, that crap worked, but very rarely was it consistent. And it's absolutely, if you're gonna shotgun, spread, and do that without tight ends and fullbacks, you're not long for this world in the NFL. And the Jerry Glanville, not for long league, is absolutely the right acronym and stuff. So to see now that the game, and you can see the Coach Stefanski offense, with now 3 tight ends in the game. You see the running game. You see what the Baltimore Ravens are doing. Thankfully, we were beating the hell out of the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay? And the Steelers are a depressed team. I'm not trying to pick on their coaching staff, but their offensive system sucked the last 5 years, okay? Unfortunately, though, for Browns, Ravens, and Bengals fans, Arthur Smith and the offense that they're going to bring in there is basically the old school running game, play action, stretches, tight end, understanding how to run, play action pass. I have this reputation as a gunfighter, as a gunslinger. I was always 50-50, running and passing. And I would physically want to intimidate you in the running game and wear you out like that. So that was a core principle that was the same in 1972 when Don Shula was having the perfect season. It is what got me the national championship in 1983 with the University of Miami. That type of physical running game presence with the smart use of a tight end or two and a tough guy fullback to physically impose your will. And here I am as the late third quarter, early fourth quarter of my life, really wanting to be a spiritual healer and heal people and really cognizant of your physical and even more so sometimes your mental health, and there's an absolute tie-in to your stomach and head and the connectivity of that to your mental health, and I really care about that. When I'm in the rectangle in a football field, I do not care about that, okay? And it's a very physical, kill or be killed attitude. And that's the offense that worked back then, and those are the offenses that work right now. And the Browns and Joe Flacco and what he did last year at the end of the year, even with linemen that we can't know their names because the Browns had so many injuries. But when you have the right type of tight ends and backs in there, and you understand how to physically come off the ball and take advantage of undersized defenses now, because everybody thinks you're going to throw, and we got all the little guys in there and the fast guys. They run side to side great, okay? And then me as the slowest guy out there, have empathy for the teams and players that aren't. So there's one very good way to handle small little fast guys, and that's run them over, okay? And that's kind of the attitude that the Browns kind of had, the Ravens have, okay? They really do it very good too. Joe Burrow's a exceptional anomaly to where they could do some things because of his specialness of throwing the ball. But us mere mortals, okay, have to run the type of physically sound X's and O's that Don Shula and Howard Snellenberger did in the undefeated season in 1972. And I see the more things change, the more they stay the same. And that's the type of systems that are coming back. So the Browns and what we're doing, I'm not just saying it's to be a Browns guy, and it's not because we got the awesome Browns exhibit going on, and not because they put my nice mug up there, okay, as one of them, or not because Mike Galena gave me that nice glowing cranium swelling 2019 poll of all you awesome fans saying that about me. But it really is a way to consistently play good offensive team, complementary football to end up with a W. It's not ending up with the best stats. And you're not going to have the best stats in Cleveland, Ohio with that wind and the way it goes in there. So if you come to grips with your stats are going to suck, and the only stat that matters is beating the other team, okay, you play that game like that. Well, the Ravens play like that, we play like that, okay? The Bengals are an anomaly with Joe Burrow, and unfortunately a really good anomaly, okay? Because I love the way he throws the ball and handles the team. But I say all that as background, and as us anti-Steeler guys, okay, not to name anybody, and that Penguin thing is going to have to go, brother. Although I love Lemieux, and I'm actually joking. It just didn't make my joke as good. But the Steelers now are making that move with Arthur Smith. And I actually think it's friggin' amazing that they pulled off this Russell Wilson, Justin Fields trade to end up getting both of these guys. And although I like Russ, and he's been amazing, amazing quarterback. I mean, who could argue with his track record? God bless him for what he's done, and still see him in the right system like with Arthur Smith. I really do, as a Browns guy, see that as an issue, okay? But and it's not because he went to Ohio State, it's not because I'm trying to just cover every team in the AFC, and it's not because I'm actually just nice now, okay? Because when it comes to football, I still am not. But Justin Fields there, okay, he could play, and he could really, he got sent to hell with his first couple systems in Chicago, which are quarterback killers, okay? Where victims are like life, who you decide to be with is a big key of, are you happy? The who of who you're around. Well, also, like life, we are all, like to say, oh, I won all those games by myself. Went to those AFC Championship games because of me. No, we are victims or beneficiaries of the people around us, whether it's life, whether it's business, and for sure, whether it's football. So being victims or beneficiaries of the guys around you is a direct correlation to some of the success you could have. And unfortunately, I think the Browns had an amazing year. I think we are as talented as anybody. Unfortunately, this AFC North, it's loaded right now. I mean, to see now what the Steelers have, what the Ravens have, what the Cleveland Browns have, what the Bengals have, it's really good football. And it pains me as a non-objective Browns fan to see these really good actually moves that I think are happening and some of our teams are competing against. You guys have any questions? Anything you want to talk about? Yeah.
Yes, I wanted to thank Mike for a great introduction, but that's normal from him. As far as your speech itself, it was beyond fantastic. We've heard so many speeches, and you've got a big crowd here, and you're talking to the right age group for all those things you hit on, of love, concern, helpfulness. I just want to thank you for a fantastic speech.
Oh, thank you.
Now, when it comes to your health, what's a couple most key things that you did different that got you to where you are right now?
Okay, so I say it as a joke, okay? But I literally was a couple Pop-Tarts north of 320 7.5 years ago, 8 years ago, okay? And it sounds hard, okay? But if you just did like a change of my breakfast in particular, and especially for kids, for your grandkids. Look at, I was that dad, okay? Easter, man, reverse desserts, Halloween. My kids had trash cans of candy in the morning, okay? Trash cans of it, okay? The dessert. It was like, there's 10 commandments, and Moses dropped a couple because the 11th was, thou deserves dessert these days, okay? Like, it's unbelievable, and I was that person too. We predispose, we start people off, ourselves on it. The additives and preservatives and things, and the commercials actually subliminally and within the grocery store actually push us in that direction. So, again, I'm not saying this, I'm not saying this part for credit, okay, but I either was gonna die or I had to figure out this stuff on my own. So 7.5 years ago, I simply bought a Vitamix, one of the big trash can ones of it. Okay, so not that little, okay, I'm gonna make a little juicy 8-ounce thing. One of them like 64-ounce ones. And not the pretty ones that spit out all the fiber that's all perfect like the water. No, the stuff with like celery, carrots, ginger, and water that has all the fiber and stuff in it. And instead of waking up in the morning, okay? Instead of waking up in the morning, because we're all late, we're all busy, we all got stuff to do, we all think everything's, and then again, not to be sexist, but again, I love my family, but the men never did crap in the kitchen. Oh, I must be served. My wife must give me my food. Okay, I'm not making anything. I'm the man. Okay? Oh, and it's mainly because I'm an idiot in the kitchen. I don't even know how to turn the damn stove on. Okay? You know, let alone crack an egg or do whatever with that. So, let alone, let's say, oh my God, I'm going to skip the pancakes, the cinnamon roll, the donut, the Pop-Tart, okay, the coffee with 4 sugars and a bucket of milk in there, or the Starbucks latte, creamy, frappuccino, caramel laced. Okay, sugar's your enemy, okay, with that. So I know we say, like, and I don't say, because the human brain is so strong, when I say, don't do that, no matter what it is, the brain wants to automatically just rebel. So if you say, don't do this, don't do that. So I don't have any really don'ts. I absolutely prefer you don't. But like, one of the simple things to do with like, food is your medicine, okay? I jumped, like today, I had to be down here at like 8 o'clock, 8:15. So I'm driving an hour, get up at 5 o'clock, 5:30. There's not really time, you know, and typically the way I was raised, if you're not married, okay, you gotta, God forbid you admit you cook or you don't have time for it. It's so simple to throw in like this, the garbage disposal, I call the Vitamix, and throw it in 5 minutes, have a water-based celery, carrot, ginger smoothie, okay? And again, I'm not trying to sell my Kosar coffee, but the black coffee bean, okay, is the #1 thing to flush and detox your liver and brain. And with liver and brain issues, okay, I'm always trying to flush and detox. So, like, skipping, if I'm not saying you can't have it, but you have to have a cup of coffee and one of my smoothies, which is basically celery, carrots, water, ginger, basically healthy vegetables, okay, with that. And people go, oh, I don't like it, okay? At first, maybe you don't exactly like it, but how many of us have done, how many shots of whiskey have we done? I hate alcohol and I drank. I call that shots of death, but we still did it because of peer pressure, you know, at the bars and stuff. So now, I call it shots of life. And just implementing that change to where at a breakfast, instead of that, I call it ho-hos, Pop-Tarts, donuts, okay? And you have one smoothie with black coffee. We will have a line at the bathroom in the Kosar Wellness Program, okay? Because if you want to lose weight, that and the bathroom are correlated, okay? But that is really how I lost weight. And I didn't exactly like it, but the body really assimilates into it. So within like 10 days, 2 weeks of doing that, I could have a pocket full of pills with me. I could have 5 donuts in front of me, and I really don't want it. And it's not, and I'm not allowed to have it, because in my diet, you could do this stuff. You just have to do that smoothie of water-based vegetables, and mostly vegetables first. And that simple thing, and like what Primetime help, seeing a doctor once. My family has a badge of honor. Was, oh, we're genetically predisposed. We have high blood pressure, runs in our family. Oh, it's cool, we're 150 over 100. Okay, that's great. There's nothing I can do about it. We're genetically predisposed. Me and my dad were on all that medication and stuff. I've wore him out so much that he's kind of doing some of this. Now I haven't done a pill, I haven't done a high blood pressure pill in 7 years, and so my blood pressure, I should be dead, or it should have gone up. Why is it 120 over 80? Okay? It's the food is your medicine. You implement something simple like that, the dominoes started like that. So you see the lifestyle, you see the effects of it, but your body actually morphs into it where I'm not doing and staying away from a lot of this stuff out of willpower anymore. It won't settle with me. And just something as simple as food is your medicine and more vegetables, which again, I was literally, again, with my dad, I love him to death, but he would yell at you, oh, those green things, you know? And that type of attitude is really counterproductive to good health.
Pretty last question.
Okay, so I guess I'm rambling too much, so one more question, huh?
Well, what do you eat for lunch and dinner then?
So, like this today, I ate this. So the chicken, the proteins, you know, you can see all my green beans are gone. You know, try to stay hydrated. If I was around the house, you know, your snack foods, like I'll make 64 ounces in that big trash can in the morning. I'll drink maybe a third of it. Then I'll leave the rest around. If it's in the office or the house, then I would have some of that on the front side of it, you know, because then that kind of sets your appetite and fills you up a little bit and then takes away a little bit of that yearning for the reaching, for bad choices and stuff. But really, the diet is more protein based, and even things like I learned by making some mistakes. Heck, you hear people now wanting to be vegan, stuff like that. You know, you don't have to be that extreme on all that stuff. Matter of fact, you could do vegan type stuff and actually be wrong. Somebody who's now on a sodium diet, okay? You really don't need vegan because it has so much sodium and stuff in some of that stuff. So really just being smart and trying to take, and once you start drinking those kind of vegetable smoothies in the morning, the stuff you typically pass up, like the green beans and that type of stuff, you end up liking them, yearning for them. And the salads and stuff end up actually tasting good as opposed to being punishment or an afterthought, you know, that men would be doing with it. So it really kind of reformulates what you yearn for, what your body asks for. And I'm not just saying this to sell, it really, the brain actually starts asking for it. So, you know, we talk about, in Ohio and Northeastern Ohio, and I don't want to cause any controversy with this statement about how awesome the food is. But really, we're challenged to find really good, healthy food in all our environments. So the fast food and the ultra-processed food, I highly recommend. You have to, I know from an economic standpoint and a cost standpoint, okay, it's easier said than done when it comes to economics of that, and younger families in particular. And then peer pressure, because your kids want to go to McDonald's. They want the Happy Meals and that. But man, staying away from fast food is helpful, and then eating like this, and you don't make the mistakes with fast food, actually is something as simple as that.
Yeah, Bernie, quick question. How you doing? Good seeing you again. Can you talk about you becoming a Hall of Famer by being inducted in the High School Football Hall of Fame?
Yeah, you know, it's like I was saying earlier, I started wanting to do this selfishly for myself and then selfishly for us older men to do this. But I've always had this coaching fixation with the kids. And I go into any locker room, whether it's the Browns and the pro teams, the college teams, the high school teams. And the high school teams are really learning from what we're doing from the pro teams and stuff. So I really think it's a responsibility of us to kind of spread that message. But the national, what Lamont Robinson did with starting the National High School Hall of Fame, and what we're, Coach Antonio Hall is doing over at Camp McKinley, and we're housing over there the second year now of the National High School Hall of Fame. Super honored love to be in this home someday, but being in the home of the National High School Hall of Fame and being one of the initial inducted members into that. And just the egotistical cranium swelling honor, okay, to get that was so cool, okay, and so rewarding. And then to be with that initial class with the Mannings and got one of my guys, Lomas Brown, and some really just Chris Spielman from, it's just a super honor to do that. And to be part of that foundational organization and that Hall of Fame. And more importantly, what the National High School Hall of Fame is doing with wellness and coaching and awareness of these type issues, the convergence of what we're talking about now and what the National High School Hall of Fame strives to do, on top of just the awesome honor of being part of a Hall of Fame class and a Hall of Fame family, is the vision that the High School Hall of Fame's having and trying to do in terms of really implementing programs like this to help kids and help parents not get to the level of issues that I got to. Okay? If I could learn this and alter my lifestyle at 53, 54, what if you learn, and parents learned it at 35, and then their 7 and 8-year-olds learned it then. And instead of when I was 34, 35, 36, I retired at 33. So at 36 years old, here I am getting scripted for 960 milligrams of OxyContin and Adderall, 100 milligrams, and I'm my oldest daughter is now 32. She was 10 years old at the time, 9 and 10 years old, and they want to script her for that amount of Adderall and Vyvanse. For a girl to get more than a guy who's weighing 320 pounds is irresponsibly wrong to put kids on that pathway. And it's one thing for kids to make mistakes, for us to make mistakes, but we can make them ourselves. I can't stand that sometimes I, as a parent, didn't have the knowledge, okay, and succumbed to my ex-wife's pressure and the doctor's pressure to do that, and to be able now to realize the mistakes and not want to see younger families fall into those mistakes. And Dave, what we're starting to talk about with the National High School Hall of Fame and creating and taking on that message, on top of really creating a first-class organization and a first-class Hall of Fame and a first-class family in a first-class city. It was important to Lamont and the High School Hall of Fame to be here in Canton. It's an honor to be, and look at how this beautiful development is growing and how we've seen the growth here, and how we've always been proud. I've always been proud of the Pro Football Hall of Fame right here. But man, when you look around now at the growth and what's happening here, it's just awesome to be part of. And I really challenge all of us here about supporting the National High School Hall of Fame so that its permanent home is here in Canton, the birthplace of football, where it absolutely really deserves to be and needs to be. Thanks, everybody. I always finish by saying you matter, and I don't say that just as a tagline. I challenge all of you to tell everybody, the close people around you in your life, that you matter, because self-confidence, self-esteem is so important. Thank you again.